Today we're going to be talking about masculine and feminine energy.
Yes.
I'm so excited to talk about this.
I know, me too. I know we have probably a lot of thoughts and a lot of different directions that we can go. Um, I do have an initial thought about it.
Okay.
So I think when I just sit with masculine and feminine energy as a whole, I think that we live in a time where, as a society, we don't actually respect feminine energy and we don't actually respect masculine energy. Do you agree with that?
I 1000% agree.
I
And
don't know.
I think it's more of I think there's like this battle with feminine and masculine. And I feel like there's this war right
Yeah.
now. And I think there's a wave also of people that are looking to find that balance of masculine and energy and also respect the other.
Yep. And I actually feel like if you think about femininity, which is actually very different, if perhaps maybe even opposite of like feminism, I think that as women, we have pushed feminism so far that I think that's where a lot of the disrespect towards femininity is stemming from, which is also where a lot of the disrespect towards masculinity is occurring. And I know it's probably like so blasphemous to say that, but I do feel that that is a lot of what has created this culture where men don't feel safe to be men. And I'll actually share a personal story of me, like, I don't want to say the F word, but I was going to say like effing up big time. And it's such a simple thing, but like I remember one day I was going into the grocery store and this guy was with his son and I was about to grab a shopping cart, but they like got there in front of me and so the guy like grabbed a cart and offered it to me. And I was like, oh, no, thanks. And I went and grabbed my own cart. And I like checked myself in that moment because I was like, why did you do that? Like, why didn't you let yourself receive or be given something as simple as like a shopping cart, that a man was offering to you? And I really like used that as a learning experience for myself of like, damn, like we live in a time where we're so ingrained to believe that we have to do everything ourselves, that we can't, I don't need anything from you because you're a man. Like, I don't need men. I don't need masculinity. Like, I will take care of myself. And so when we have that kind of attitude, it doesn't leave room for the masculine to be the masculine and for the feminine to be the feminine to receive. So for me, that was like very eye-opening.
I was just letting you talk because I'm like, I'm here just, she's preaching to the choir. So, it's so funny that was so little, as small as a shopping cart, but you were so quick to shut it off and not allow for a masculine man to come in and give you a shopping cart.
Yeah.
But I also do like that you were self-aware enough to check yourself in the moment.
I mean, I learned from that.
Yeah.
Of
course.
I had to because I was like, damn. And that kind of led me down that rabbit hole of like, why did you do that? Where did this come from? And still I have experiences because I'm somebody who definitely went from like super traditional beliefs to like super feminist beliefs, especially after my divorce. I was like, I'm never trusting a man again, and it comes from a place of pain. But now I'm like coming back to more traditional beliefs and, finding that balance. So, yeah.
So why do you think that there are women that go to the extent of being so against men? Besides the fact that, we go through trauma and we experience certain things, why do you think that women have to go to that extent to shut off the masculine? And how do you think that harms women in the process?
I feel like the root of it is that we don't feel safe in masculine energy. And I think it's because of ultimately what you experience around masculine energy in the beginning stages, whether it's with your father or the absence of a father or whatever male role models you had growing up or the lack of having those, that creates a certain picture and belief in our mind about what masculinity is. And if what we derive from that is it's not safe, then that's the way that we begin to move through the world. And if masculinity is not safe, then what we move to is but femininity is safe. So therefore I will choose to stay in this and push away that, push away masculinity, because if that's not safe to me, I'm going to just stay over here. And then anytime anyone comes your way that represents masculinity, we're like pushing it, right? Okay. Because I think subconsciously what we're saying is like not safe, not safe, not safe, not good. And I think that's why allowing ourselves to do the inner work is so important with that.
And so because women don't feel safe in the masculine, do you feel that they take on masculine roles for themselves?
Oh, for sure. I did.
Okay.
And I actually, because like I love that we're getting into this, because I want to ask you, because you've always been very feminine. And I think this is what's funny is I've always been like, I think more in my masculine, and you've always been like more in your feminine. I know I did, because I was like, well, if I don't have a good representation of the masculine, I became the masculine, but unhealthy masculine, because that was what I knew and what I saw. And so a lot of my journey has been like having to undo all of these negative, unhealthy masculine beliefs and traits in order to step into a healthy feminine and a healthy masculine, because we all have both.
Yeah. And I love that we're first starting off with your experience and how you were so in your masculine, because I think that so many women can relate to that, because so many women operate from the masculine energy.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that I find it so sad, and I don't know if it's because I feel for the women that don't feel safe, or I don't know if they themselves realize that them being so in their masculine can be a harm to them and their natural ways of the way women are. Like our natural, how can I explain it? Just naturally as a woman, I feel like we have like these qualities and these tendencies. And I think even some women who operate from the masculine want to shut down that feminine side of them too, because they're so in their masculine. So I love that we're starting off with that, because I think so many women can relate to that.
I mean, what's hard is like we live in a society that kind of pushes us to be in our masculine, right? Because everything is made for men, right? 40-hour work week. The way things function, like everything is, the world is set up for men. So when we try to move through the world, it's almost like you have to move as a man, or you have to move in your masculine in order to function as a human.
Also energetically, we're forced to energetically operate as a man every single day. Men are off of a 24-hour cycle. They operate like the sun, versus women, we have a 28 to 30 cycle ourselves, and we operate more like the moon. And it to me, it's such a shame that we don't have a system that allows for the masculine to be in their masculine and for the feminine to be in their feminine. And I hope that we go through a change, because I do feel like there's this wave right now of a lot of women waking up and realizing like, hey, maybe I need to step back from my masculine a little bit and step more into my feminine and actually work with the rhythm of my biological body.
And I feel like we're not given that opportunity of like, oh, you're a woman, you have your monthly cycle, like, our energy shifts based on that. So while a man can show up like daily, our energy fluctuates, and it's not available in the same way. And I actually read that there's like this study that was done where they tested like a male firefighter and a female firefighter, and they had them do the same task. And then they tested on both of them afterwards, and like the woman expended so much more energy, where it actually like gave the man energy to do that task, and it just goes to show, like, scientifically we are not created to be men. Which sounds so like, duh, but that's how we show up in the world.
And I wish that more people understood that. I wish that more men understood that. But I do think that if you date a real masculine man who wants to be a provider, they will understand that.
Yeah.
They understand that their woman needs to be in their feminine and sit in their feminine and be allowed to have the space for the woman to be a woman instead of having to operate from a masculine energy.
Yep. And that's the thing too, is like if you're a woman operating in your masculine, you cannot expect to attract a masculine man, because that's not going to be the balance to you. And I think that was a reality I had to face in seeing like, oh, I keep attracting these feminine energy men. I'm always the one making more money. I'm always the one who's more successful. I'm always the one asking for the things and the time. And it's like, well, I was the masculine in the relationship, even though I was with a man, but I was attracting men who were wounded, you know, and who were more in their feminine energy. So if you want to flip that script, like you can't show up in your masculine and expect to attract a masculine man.
And I think in a relationship we need to be very mindful about the masculine and the feminine roles. I think it's very easy for women to want to step into the masculine role when they feel like their man is not leading enough or providing enough. But I think us as women, we need to respect and understand the masculine and take a step back and not overstep our boundaries with the masculine. So I know that's easier said than done, because sometimes if something doesn't get done, we're like, we're gonna do it ourselves. But no, you have to allow for the space for the masculine to step in and also learn too. So with you, like, I feel like you've always been very feminine, you know, and like I actually have this memory, I don't know why, but I have this memory of like when we were in third grade, where you like, I'm scared.
It's not an embarrassing. I have embarrassing stories, but not going to share. We both have embarrassing stories. No, but I remember, I think it was in third grade or like pretty early on, you had this like big ass box of makeup.
Oh my God.
And I remember at that age, like I don't think I even, like it was just, you were just so always very feminine is what I'm trying to say. You've always been that way. And what's funny is you were raised around a lot of men, like your brothers, your cousins. So like where did that all come from? Like, do you think you just knew? Like,
I think so, because, well, my mom is very dainty. To me, I see my mom as a very like classy woman. She's very dainty, and she's let loose a little bit more throughout the years, especially as we've gotten older. But my mom's always been very dainty and very, very girly. But like my love for makeup and just being very feminine, I honestly don't know where that came from.
It was just always in
I just think it was always in me. But you know what? Maybe thinking about it, it probably was my Disney princess obsession.
That's probably part of it.
Let me tie in like all of the pieces together right now. I'm trying to like figure it out, because I will say that I do feel like I was very influenced by Disney princesses, and I've always wanted to present myself as a princess as well. I've always wanted to, even like when I'm dancing, I want to make sure that I like look graceful and very like poised, and that I don't look clumsy, you know? So, but besides that, I don't know where it came from. I just think I was just naturally like that. And so those are things that I liked, right? But my earliest memory of me being a woman and being very in my feminine and taking care of the masculine, I was in the 5th grade making bottles for my brother and my cousin. We were like the Three Stooges growing up, making bottles for them and bottles for me. So I would prep the bottles, put them in the microwave, and give them their bottles. Did I say in the 5th grade?
I was like, wait, you guys are drinking from bottles?
Did I say 5th grade? When we were 5. What
I was like, saying? Bottles. Water bottles? Where are you guys going?
I was like, wait, did I say, no, when we were 5.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So I remember,
really?
I mean, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you were always like that.
Yes, I was always like that. My mom, she did work for a bit growing up. And so my aunt, so we lived in the back house, and my aunt lived in the front house. So it was my brother David and my cousin Gerardo, and it was me, and we were always just really close. Okay, so as little as when we were in 5 years old in kindergarten. I did not mean 5th grade. I remember, like, if they wanted a bottle, like, I know I could have asked, like, my tia, but I've always been so independent, like, in my femininity, that I would just take it upon myself to prep the bottles, put them in the microwave, and then go give them their bottles.
I love
and
that.
I remember I would scoot a chair to the microwave so that I can prep everything and then give it to them. So that's like my earliest memory of me just being so in my feminine and wanting to get, just having like that nurturing like sensation inside of me and want to care in that way. But I just think I've always been like that. I was never taught to.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say too, is like what stands out to me about that is the nurturing of it, which I think is one of the like really beautiful qualities of feminine energy, and just the fact that you already so early on, I feel like you were nurturing them, but you were also nurturing yourself, you know, because you were like, I'm taking care of me and I'm taking care of them, which I actually think is true, authentic feminine energy, and not what we see nowadays of like moms overextending themselves and like forgetting about themselves and just pouring from an empty cup. And I feel like that's such a beautiful story of feminine energy, because it's like, I'm taking care of me, but I'm also taking care of you.
Yeah, and I was always the one that would talk sense into them, be kind of like that mother role for my brother and my cousin. So even when we would play outside, I would kind of be not the leader, but the leader in the sense that I would reason and talk sense into them. So I
like that, because I think that shows the power in femininity, you know, because one of the, I think for me to be able to, like when I was on my journey of getting more into my feminine, I had to learn that the feminine is powerful.
Very powerful.
Because I thought it was like weak, and that's why I was like, I don't want to be feminine, like the feminine is weak, but it's actually like so powerful. And I feel like you displaying those leadership skills as you were in your feminine energy just shows that the feminine does lead, the feminine is powerful, and it's nurturing too.
Yeah. The feminine definitely leads in their own way. They lead as much as the masculine does, but in their own way.
Yeah.
In the way that resonates best with the feminine. I think with the masculine, the masculine kind of gives the feminine, gives to the feminine, and then the feminine creates from what the masculine gave. So yeah, there's definitely different roles, but I do think they bounce off of each other, and there's so much power in being a feminine. I mean, feminine and women, we create life. We're the creators, you know. We are the creative ones and nurturing ones. We bring life into this earth, you know. So there's so much power in being a woman. And the video that I was listening to today that you sent me yesterday, she was saying that a true feminine woman will ignite a true masculine man, like activate, she said. You don't have to, what was the word that she used? If you can help me, if you remember, you don't educate and you don't show them how, you just activate.
Like you don't have to nag them to it.
Exactly. So I think a woman that's in her true feminine can do that for the right masculine partner. So
I'm curious what your experience was like then, stepping into business, because I feel like in business I've had to learn the importance of balancing masculine and feminine energy. So I probably came into business like more masculine, and I'm guessing you came into it more feminine. So how did you, like, what does that look like for you in business, and how do you bring the masculine in?
Really good question, because I think we'll be able to see the difference between you and I right now. I would say that the amount of success that you've had in business and the way you operate your business, you were able to create so much structure and success because of the masculine energy in your business. Where I lack, that I don't feel like I have enough masculine energy, is that I don't have structures as much as you do. And I operate more from my feminine, so I'm more like, do I feel like doing that right now? Like, I know that I have to do this at 3 o'clock, but
do I want to?
But
you've also had a lot of success too.
I have, but I don't know, like when I look at you, I see more of like, there's A, B, and C, and A, B, and C gets done. Me, I feel like there is A, B, and C, but I will probably do C before I do A first. And that's not what I should be doing.
Like a different order.
Exactly.
There's more flow. Yeah. No, but I feel like that's not a bad thing. I think with all of us, it's finding that balance, you know, where like for you, you're coming in feminine and probably trying to find the balance of the masculine. And for me, I can be so masculine, and the unhealthy of that is that it can be very rigid, you know, and so I've had to learn like when to switch into my feminine and allow things to flow. And I feel like that's been my ongoing learning lesson, you know. It's like it doesn't always have to be A, B, and C. And that's the beauty of having your own business, is that you can decide and that there's no rules. And I think that's something I've had to learn. But yeah, it makes sense. But I also think there's so much freedom because of that flow and femininity in business, you know?
Yeah, I do think that when it comes to business, you have to have, I think it has to be like a 50-50 when it comes to business. We can't have more feminine than masculine, and we can't have more masculine than feminine, in my personal opinion. I don't know if you think of it differently, but I do think that there needs to be a good balance, because you can't have too much of feminine but not have like the structures and the actual like you know, numbers that drive the business. And vice versa. You can't have like super structured business and then like not do the feminine aspect of it, which is actually like creating and feeling aligned with what you're doing. So I still feel like I'm trying to figure that part, how to step in more into my masculine, because I do think my feminine always overtakes my masculine side. So I'm trying to like really answer that question, but I don't really think I have a solid answer, because I'm still trying to step more into my masculine than just my feminine energy. So, and I do know that once I activate that side of the masculine, I think it's game over for you bitches, how they say.
Good luck to everyone else.
Good luck to everyone. But and I think that this is where it's good to have business partners where you can.
This is why we're a good mix.
Yes, split the responsibilities, split the energy, and I think this is why I've even asked my boyfriend, like, can you like really step in like behind the scenes when it comes to like the other businesses, because he's so good at like math and science and creating charts, which you're good at, which is like masculine, and he can do all of that, and I hate doing that. I want to be the one that's creating as a woman. I want to be the one that's creating new things and you know, creating content and you know, doing that and connecting with people, versus like I wish that I could have someone that's a business partner with me to be like, no, this is what we need to do. These are the numbers. This is a good decision, or this is not a good decision to make in business. So, yeah. I still feel like I'm trying to figure that out on my end.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, because it is important. And I do find that people that are more intuitive or more feminine, like that's a big struggle for them in business. And most of my clients are more in their feminine, so I'm kind of the one that comes in and is like, all right,
which is why you're perfect for that.
Clear the strategy. Like, what do you mean you only post when you feel like it? No, it's not gonna work.
So now I'm curious to know how you're able to balance the masculine and the feminine being in business. I know you just said that you feel like you don't give enough feminine energy business-wise, so I'm curious to know how you balance that and maybe what you feel like you need to work on.
So I feel like one of the things I struggle with is I'm very black and white, and I'm always trying to find balance. So, and even this, I see it play out, because as I've been on my journey of learning to be more feminine, I can see how I bounce back and forth in business too extremely, where I'm either like super masculine or then I switch into super feminine. And the thing is, I get very comfortable on either side, and it's hard for me to figure out like how to be both, or how to like switch with both throughout the day. You know what I mean? I'm either like, oh, I'm in my feminine, I'm gonna do nothing, I'm just like feel good, and like I'm like
24/7.
But what happens is I'll get stuck there for a little bit.
Exactly, yes.
And then I'm like, no, then I gotta like kick myself in the pants and be like, but then I switch to my masculine, and then I'm there for a while, you know. So I feel like it's been hard to intertwine both so that they're working together. Like, I don't feel like I'm in a place where I could say, like, oh, I'm in my masculine from like 1 to 2, and then from 3 to 4 I switch into my feminine,
Honestly, I think maybe that would work for me. It's like from 12 to 2 o'clock, you're in your masculine. You got to do all the numbers. You got to do like the admin CEO shit. And then after that, you can create now.
Yeah. So. I mean, yeah. And I think, and I don't know that there's like one right way. I think everyone's got to find their way. But I think that I'm still learning how to blend both, because I'm learning to love the very masculine side of me while embracing the feminine that I'm becoming at the same time. So it's tricky. Like, it's not easy, but I think what's good is I've started to bring in more feminine, where before I had like, I don't know that I had very much. So like when you shared that story of like the bottles for your 5-year-old cousins,
not fifth graders,
the story that I have that's like, that made me think of that was like, my dad always put my brother in sports, because my dad was like a huge sports fan, and he was like determined that my brother was going to play sports, and my brother could like give two shits about sports. Like, he was not an athletic guy at all, but I wanted to play sports.
What?
I wanted to play soccer,
which makes sense why to this day you go watch soccer.
Like, I love soccer.
I'm
and
like,
I always,
what are you doing there?
Like, so boring.
Like, I don't get it.
Like, I love it, but it's because as a little girl, my dream was like, well, not dream, but it was like I wanted to play soccer, but I wasn't allowed because I was a woman. So, and it was my brother he would put in sports, and my job was to like prepare the snacks for like all the kids, and I hated it. Like, I was so mad because like, you should have been making the snacks. I was making the snacks like wishing I could play soccer. And I remember one time I like ran into the field. I think I was just like, I'm sick of this shit. Like, I just like ran in the middle of the game, and the ref had to like kick me out. But it's just funny. Like, I do think in a way we're just born naturally more inclined to one or the other, and I don't even think it's based on gender, I think it's just you're naturally one or the other, and then your journey in life is to try to find the balance of embracing the other,
So I will get dirty. Like, I'm not scared of getting dirty. Like,
that's funny, because I hate being dirty.
Oh no, I will get dirty. I will get so dirty. If we're going hiking or we're going to the mountains, like, I don't mind if I get super dirty. Like, I can literally be in like the slums and be okay. That's also the part of me that I'm like, I'm very feminine, but like, I don't mind getting down and dirty. I go drifting with my boyfriend, and I was posting videos of me being in a drift car, and then the other car was following us and getting so close, and a lot of women would get freaked out from it.
I got freaked out.
Yeah, you were like, your boyfriend's putting you through that?
I was like, how dare he?
And I'm over here like, yeah, it's
You're like
fun.
having a great time.
I'm like, it's so much fun. So even though I have like feminine qualities and likes, and I'm very like nurturing, there is still some stuff that are considered like masculine that I love. And I've always also wanted to learn how to drift. My brother and I in high school, we were so obsessed with playing like Forza and Need for Speed, and we would stay up all night playing, and we used to watch Fast and the Furious over and over. And so my brother and I, we were like, one day we're going to get drift cars and we're going to build them, and then we're going to go to the track and we're going to drift. And it's so funny because now I'm dating someone like that. And so I always wanted to learn. And I wouldn't say that that's very feminine. That's more masculine. So even though I am very like feminine and have nurturing qualities, there is still some stuff that are very masculine that I like, and I wouldn't mind doing, and I enjoy doing. Like, I love doing construction, like having to like build walls and like paint and stuff. I love it. I love it so much. But I don't know if maybe that's like because I'm creating, or I don't know what it is. But then in the context of like cars, what is that? What is it?
But I do find that like, because I think a lot about how I want to raise my kids in the hopes I will not F them up too bad.
Girl, same.
And one of the things I think about is how, like, in childhood, there's so many things that are labeled as like for men and for women, right? Like, if you're a woman, you're supposed to love the color pink. I've always hated the color pink. but also it's like certain toys and certain things. If you're a girl, you're supposed to do this. If you're a guy, you're supposed to do this. And like similar to you, like when I was a little girl, I loved Barbies. Like I was obsessed with my Barbies. Like I thought they were just the best thing ever.
I have something to say, but yes, keep going.
Like I loved them. Like I remember I had to make myself get rid of them because I got to the age where I was like, nobody else plays with Barbies. You need to grow up. I like had this conversation with myself because I loved them, and I was like, you need to grow up.
How did I not know this? Did
I
you never
probably hide them. I was probably like still playing with dolls in like 8th grade or something.
Oh my god, I have stuff to say, but yes, keep going.
But I also loved playing with my brother's Hot Wheels. Like, I thought that they were so fun. And what's funny is I would always, like, tell him, I'd be like, oh, how about I play Hot Wheels with you and then you play Barbies with me? But I really just wanted to play with his Hot Wheels and he did not want to play Barbies. So it was my way of playing with his Hot Wheels. And then he would just go away and I didn't care because I'm like, I got to play with the Hot Wheels and I play with my Barbies. And I really liked both. But it said nothing about, like, me as a little girl, you know. It was just I loved to play with both. It didn't matter that I was a girl. Like I just enjoyed both. So
interesting, because when I was a kid, I hated Barbies. And here I am being the feminine that wants makeup, you know, that's nurturing. But I didn't like Barbies. My mom bought me like this big ass Barbie house, and she would buy me all the, because my mom.
I wonder why you didn't like it.
I don't know. My mom loved Barbies. She said that she played Barbies up until she was like 16.
That was probably me, honest. Like I can't wait to have a daughter so I can play Barbies. So I hope she doesn't hate them like you.
Oh my god, that's so funny. You say, and it's so funny because you say you're more in your masculine, but you loved Barbies, and I'm more in my feminine, and I hated Barbies. And my mom would tell me, like, why don't you play with your Barbies? And I'm like, because I don't like Barbies. So the only time I would play with them was when my mom would sit down to play with me. Other than that, I did not like Barbies. Get them away from me. Yeah.
That's so funny.
And on the contrary, I was always outside with all of the boys from the block playing. So it's like you would assume that I would be more of a masculine and grow up to be very tomboy. But I do say that I am very like girly and very feminine, but I do say my personality is a little bit more tomboy-y.
I could see that. But you know what? I feel like what this shows is how we all have both energies within us, right? And I think that if as kids we were given the permission to cultivate both or encouraged to cultivate both, where it's like you can be a girl and hate this and love this and like that, but it doesn't say anything. You can still learn, because I do think feminine energy, it's like it's so much more than just the toys you're playing with or the colors that you like. But I think that from childhood we are taught if you are a woman, it means like being a woman means X, Y, and Z, and being a man means X, Y, and Z. But we're not taught like at its core what it truly means to be a woman.
It's very superficial.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very like, oh, you're a boy, so you have to be into the color blue. You cannot be into Barbies. You have to be into cars, or you have to be into sports. But nobody's really diving into, oh, but you're a boy that's going to turn into a man. This is how you treat a woman. This is how you become a provider. It's all just very superficial.
Yeah.
And I think realizing from this conversation that we're having, I think the masculine and the feminine energy comes from deep within and not the superficial stuff.
Yep. And we're taught that it's like on the external.
Exactly.
Right? Like as a little girl, I was forced to wear dresses and I hated them because I couldn't go on the swing and it was like my favorite. And now I love dresses, right? It said nothing about who I was going to become in my character development. But I feel like as a little girl, it was like, this is how we make her a woman, instead of like, how do we actually teach her to be a woman and to be like in her nurturing qualities and embracing her femininity and feeling safe and secure and like her confidence and who she is as a woman. But I think that we just want to like throw these external things onto kids and say, here, this is a man, this is a woman, and then they grow up and they don't know what they're doing. They don't actually know what it is to be a man or a woman.
And it all stems from the way we're raised.
Yep.
It all stems from the way we're raised, and if our parents had that modeled to them. And we also can't blame our parents for not teaching us specific roles if that wasn't modeled to them.
Yep.
You know, so...
Yeah. And I think this is why, for me, it has become so important to do my inner work and to learn about femininity, and it's still an ongoing journey for me, because I know ultimately it's for me, but I'm also preparing myself for the masculine partner I want to call in. I want to prepare myself for the kids that I want to have. And I'm being very intentional, not just of the work I'm doing, but also the partner that I'm going to choose. And they need to be in their healthy masculine, and I need to see certain qualities in them, because the way that I plan to raise my kids, I cannot do it with a partner that's not in alignment with those qualities and traits. So it's like you're either also, balanced and in your healthy masculine because of the way I see myself raising my kids, because otherwise, like, I can't teach them certain values if I'm not holding those values, and my partner isn't either.
Absolutely. Yep. Like, there's so much. There's so much. Like, there's so much that I want to say, but I'm trying to navigate it, and like I'm trying to sort it in my brain. Because I'm like, oh my God, there's so many different topics. Okay, so I do have a question. What does a true masculine man look like for you? And what does a true feminine woman look like for you? I do want to say that this is going to be different for everyone. I do think that there are basics, but I do think that outside of the basics, I think it's gonna different for everyone, based on your standards and your qualities and what you're expecting in your partner. But I do think that there are basics, so I'm curious to know what masculine in the context of a relationship looks like for you, what the masculine should do, the role, and also feminine.
That's such a big question, and such a great question. I feel like I'll start with the masculine because for some reason it's easier for me to see it because, it's, I don't know, external, I guess. But as far as like a healthy masculine man, like I'm definitely looking for somebody who is a provider, which I know is more traditional, but I know at this point in my journey, I need and want someone who is a provider because of where I'm at. And it's not because I can't provide for myself, but it's because I believe it is the responsibility of the masculine. I believe that a healthy masculine provides a home. And that is actually because of my age. It's like we're not in our 20s, like I'm about to turn 32. So to me at this age, like a man should have a home that he's ready to provide for me and for our kids. Especially if there's that expectation that in me being in my feminine, I'm going to birth our children because I know I do want kids, and that I want to be able to raise them. I want to be the primary influence in their life because I believe that if I have them, it's my job to do that. And I can only do that if I'm with a partner who's providing. So to me, it's important, that self-awareness, emotional intelligence. I know that it's going to be someone who is kind and giving, like they're generous, they're secure in who they are, and they're not afraid to provide and to take care and to protect, because in that, I think really what it becomes is in the feminine, you get to be the counterpart, and I get to be the counterpart of that, which is building the home. And in me feeling safe, I can feel safe to nurture and be nurturing towards him and towards our children. I get to build the family that represents who he is as a man. And whenever I go anywhere, his kids go anywhere, we go into spaces together.
Aww,
they
I just
see
got
who
like
we
this
are.
vision of you being a mommy.
But I've been, and we, you and I talk a lot about kids and having kids, and we have so many conversations. And I know one of the things I always express to you is like, I know I want kids, but I'm very specific about how I'll do it because it needs to be a conscious choice. Choosing your partner needs to be a conscious choice. Having kids needs to be a conscious choice. Parenting needs to be conscious. So the way I see it is like you're counterparts of each other. To answer your question, like he provides and protects, the woman nurtures and builds the home and creates. And not because I see myself always having businesses and always working, but I don't think that we're meant to have that pressure of like going to work the 40-hour work week, and having kids is a huge responsibility. Like,
I'm just like,
I'm
over
not
here
about
like
to
this.
like
I'm like,
overextend
I'm
myself.
nodding up and down so hard right now.
Right? Like, it
yes.
just, I don't know. And so for me, it's like, if you're a 30-something-year-old man and you don't have a home that's ready for your wife, your partner, the kids that you say you want to have, because men are very persistent about wanting to plant their seed. If you do not have a home for that, if you do not have the finances for that, if you do not have the structure and the stability and the network and the things, you are not ready to be in a relationship, and you are not ready to date. And I don't want you.
Oh my God.
So I just feel like at this point, like, if I meet someone, they either need to be there or be very close to being there, because I'm ready to give my part, but I cannot give it if they don't have the container to receive it.
1,000%.
So
I hope that so many women learn from this.
I have learned the hard way.
Yes.
I have learned the hard way. I have been the girl that goes, oh, don't worry, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for you. Why was I paying for men?
Yep.
Why was I paying for dates? Why was that is not a man.
Yep.
That is not a man.
Yep.
But it's because I was in my masculine, so I was the one providing.
Yep.
And guess who got screwed over?
You.
Exactly.
I'm over here just nodding, nodding.
So it's like, if you want to be the woman that gets screwed over, be the one who helps the man. Be the one who provides for the man. Be the one who builds him up. Because you know what that does? That bruises his ego, and it's the reason why ultimately he ends up screwing you over, and then he goes and finds a woman who is in her feminine, who does give him the counterbalance that he needs to make him feel like a man. And then you're over here like, why does she get all the things that I never got? That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. Yep. Nail hit the nail on the head. Because that was so deep. And I hope that women can learn from this. But I also, if you are in a relationship where you're more in the masculine and not in your feminine, I do think that you can still turn that around depending on how open your partner is.
Yeah.
And how much work they're willing to put in to flip the roles.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of talks, and a lot of you guys figuring out how you can help your relationship. I don't want to say fix, but just help your relationship so that there's more balance created between the two of you.
Yep.
And it's absolutely true what you said when you are showing up more as a masculine and providing for your man. It's a shot to their ego. So naturally, when men's egos are shot for some reason, they act like little girls. They act like little girls, and God forbid,
because there's no space for them to be.
Yeah, they throw tantrums. Like, it's like, if you ever want to see like a little boy throwing a fit over a car that his mom wouldn't buy him, just look at a man that has his ego shot. And I mean, and I don't want to make excuses for men, but I just think that that's naturally the way that they react when their ego is shot. And so if you're stepping too much in your masculine, you also have fault in that too.
Yep.
Because you're not allowing for him to step into his own masculine to provide for you in the way that a masculine should.
Yep. It's so true. And one thing I'll say, because I want to hear your answer on this, one last thing I'll say is that it took a lot of work for me to get here. Like, I used to be the one that was in the masculine. I used to be the one that was like, oh, I'll pay. And I don't know if you remember this, but I would even look at my girlfriends and just be like, what do you mean he pays for you? Like, I thought it was weird, and I'd be like, I pay. Like, I
remember when we had a conversation, we were in Long Beach. Forgot what we were driving around, and we were talking about masculine and feminine, and we were talking about men paying for like dates, and I remember I could just like, as I was talking, I can see your face. I knew you were thinking. I knew you were thinking. I'm like, this girl is thinking right now, and you're like, but like how, and like, but like why? And I just felt like you were so open to hearing a different perspective, but you were also trying to understand like, how is that possible? Or how do you find that? You know,
like I legit did not understand, but the way that I got here, like I used to be the woman that was like, no, I pay, like men don't pay for me, and I wasn't okay with it. So the way I got here was being open to having these conversations. Luckily, I have friends like Natalie that are in their feminine that I could hear, and even if it didn't make sense to me, I kept hearing and observing. I started watching women that are in their feminine energy, and would watch their videos, and the more the video triggered me, the more I would watch it, because I'd be like, there's something here for me. So I let myself be triggered over and over again. I let myself have conversations that I didn't understand, that were uncomfortable, and it's taken a lot of work. And now I'm just like, I am never ever paying for a date again. Like, that's not happening. And I was not like, before I was like, I'll pay for myself. Like, I don't need you. I don't need anything from you. Like, that was old me. So just know that if you're old me, you can get here.
And just know, because your man is a provider, or you're looking for a provider, and he pays for all the dates, this doesn't mean that you can't pay for a date. And now I'm not saying in the sense where your man is asking you and it's expected of you. If there's like a random, like you think like, oh my God, like, you know what, I actually want to take my man out on a date this time. You can do that. Don't feel like you can't take your man out because he's a provider.
In my opinion, he better be your boyfriend, though.
Yes, absolutely.
Now I'm like on the other extremes.
Yes. So my boyfriend always pays for everything, all our dates, all our dinners. And then randomly, I'm like, I want to take my boyfriend out, you know, because
of course.
I make money too, you know. So beside nurturing and caring for him in like woman ways, like sometimes I want to be like, you know what, like you're always paying for me, so I would actually like to take you out this time. Would you allow that? And I actually have to ask him ahead of time, because you know, he doesn't ever want me to pay, or like he doesn't like when I bring out my wallet. He's like, it's so awkward, like don't do that.
I'm just remembering when I paid at the coffee place, and he got because he was doing a photo shoot for us, and so I was like, you know, I'm gonna buy him coffee, he's doing photos for us, and he got so uncomfortable that I was paying for him, and I was like, I felt so bad. I was like, I should not have paid for his coffee. Oh my gosh.
So don't feel like you can't pay for your man once in a while. If you want to take him out on a date, ask him. Say like, hey, you know, I would actually like to take you out on a date. Or what you can also do that I love to do is I will go and buy my boyfriend shoes, or I'll go and buy him like clothes, or like something nice, you know, in a way that I can also give back, because he provides financially, you know. And yes, I do give him other stuff in return that a woman should be doing for their man, like cooking and doing all that stuff, right? But beside that, like I also think like, oh my God, like, you know what, I am gonna go buy my boyfriend shoes, I'm gonna go buy my boyfriend like shirts, or like sunglasses or something, you know. But that's because that's coming out of me, and because I'm being taken care of, I want to give that in return too. So don't feel like just because your man is always paying for you, like you can't pay for stuff, because you can, but it's different when you're wanting to versus when you're being forced to. And also what I do admire about my boyfriend as well is that when we're out, especially with women, he always wants to pay. Right, sweet. Which is why you experience like him getting all awkward when you paid for the coffee. And I've noticed that if we're out and about, not only does he get my door, but he will also get the door for whatever girl is with us. I don't know if you've noticed, my boyfriend has opened your door when you go in the car with us. He's opened your back door.
Well, he's like, even if we're hanging out and I'm leaving, he'll make sure I get to my car safely.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's very thoughtful. And that's why I'm like, if your boyfriend can do that for you and make sure the women around you are okay, why can't other men make sure at least their woman is okay?
Exactly. If I'm out with my friends and my boyfriend is with us, when we're walking to the car, he will open the back and the front door at the same time. And whoever obviously is getting to the car first will slide into the car, whether that's me or my friends, but he will always get the back door and the front door at the same time to make sure that the women are able to sit in the car, you know. And I love that about my boyfriend, because I do think that that's such a, and I don't even know where he got that from, honestly, because I don't think that was modeled to him. But
we need to interview him.
I know, right? Like,
excuse you. Yes. Where did you learn this?
Interview you. But I think that's a good representation of what a healthy masculine man that wants to provide and protect is. So yeah, there are different ways that a man could be a provider. It doesn't necessarily just have to be monetary wise. I do think that they should at least provide the basics, but yeah.
So what do you see as, like, you know, healthy masculine and healthy feminine? What does that mean to you?
So basically everything you said. I agree 1000% everything that you just said. For me, it's being a provider, not just monetary wise, providing the basic necessities that you need, like home, transportation, food, etc. And then also providing in another sense where they are emotionally available, emotionally mature. They make sure that you're okay as a partner and are providing whatever you need. And that can, it doesn't, and like I said, it doesn't need to be just money wise, but being a provider will just, it also to me is more of like being a helping hand to the feminine and making sure that she's okay, and whatever she needs, the masculine is there. Okay, so this is not just money wise, this is action wise, this is emotional, this is mental, this is everything. Everything that comes with being a provider, that's what it is. I do think that the women needs to be more of the nurturer. I think that whatever the man is providing, the woman comes in and she creates with what the man is providing. So like you said, the man provides the home, the woman creates the home. So the man provides the house, but the woman creates the home, the loving, the comfort. The man provides the food, the woman cooks up the meal. The man provides a sperm, the woman provides a child. You know, so yeah. I don't see it as give or take. It's more of a teamwork, and you need to find the balance. And I do think that there are a lot of little roles that go into that. But I also think that just because you're more of a feminine doesn't mean that your man can't help you in feminine duties when it comes to like cooking or like cleaning. But I do think that the majority of that responsibility should fall more on the woman than the man. And I do think that the man needs to create a safe space for the woman to be in her feminine and create when she wants, and not out of a necessity or like a need, or because they're being drilled like, hey, you need to split 50-50 with me. I don't think any masculine man should ever split anything 50-50 with their woman. Listen to me good.
Don't be Venmoing your man 50% of your meal.
Yes. when I see like Venmo transactions, because you can see notifications, the woman will be like, over half of lunch. I'm just like, what are you doing?
Is he gonna help you birth half the baby? I don't think so. Is he gonna go through half the labor? Is he gonna be half pregnant?
Exactly.
I don't think so.
Exactly.
Does he get half of the period every month?
Thank you. Thank you. So basically everything that you said, I agree. I'm not going to sit here and repeat it because it's going to be too long. But I really wanted to emphasize that the man provides and brings to the table, and whatever that man provides and brings to the table, the woman creates. And I think that those are the most important roles in how to balance a relationship. But
and I feel like if for those of us that tend to be more in our masculine, if we're honest with ourselves, it's freaking exhausting.
It is very exhausting. I do not understand how women can be in a relationship, and I'm not saying this to be mean or snarky or like I don't understand, but I really want you guys to listen to what we're saying and really, really sit with yourself and digest what we're saying, because we're not saying this to be mean or because we think that we're better than you. No, there is science behind the women's biology, and there's a specific way that our energy runs, and we are forced to step into a masculine role and provide like a masculine, while at the same time still being feminine and being a mom and doing all of the womanly duties. It is exhausting, which is why we have so many burnt out women, which is why we have so many single moms and divorced women, because they're forced to operate from both masculine and feminine, and they're not given the space to be in their feminine, to actually provide in the way that a woman should be providing within the household and to their family. I can't even imagine being a mom and having to go to a career or working 40 hours a week, then having to come home and take care of the house, raise the kids, do the homework, make sure that the laundry is done for the kids and for the husband, and to cook and to clean, and then to do that every single day. I don't think that's healthy, and I think that men need to step it up a little bit more.
Yeah. And what I would encourage you guys to take into consideration is that if you have kids or you are thinking about having kids one day, you are modeling that behavior for your kids of what a woman is. Whether you have sons or daughters, they are looking to you as the mom, as the example of this is what it is to be a woman. And if your son or your daughter are experiencing you overworking yourself, trying to be in your masculine, having to fill in certain roles, that's what they are learning and what they are experiencing as feminine. And then this is what ends up creating those beliefs that then become, that's what a woman is. That's how I should treat a woman. That's what that's how your daughter is going to move through the world, because that's what she has seen. That's how your daughter is going to treat a woman, because that's what he has seen. So it really does create this ripple effect that then impacts society as a whole. And I believe that we're responsible for the influence we create within our own world, and that ultimately that creates a domino effect in the bigger world. So I've taken it on my responsibility to learn to be in my feminine energy in a healthy way, so that I can model that behavior for my kids.
Absolutely. And I also do want to say that just because we're saying that you should be more in your feminine and allow for the masculine to step in, we're not saying that you don't have to work. If your desire is that you do want to work, I think you should be given that opportunity to do so, but because you want to, and not because you need to.
I feel like some advice that I want to share, if you're a woman who does tend to be more in her masculine, or just in general you want to work, you have a business, right? Like I am somebody who has a business. I work. I love having a business. I love making money. I love helping people. So being in my feminine doesn't take away from that. It actually allows me to be more empowered in that, because I can own it from a different place. And it's just different when there isn't that pressure, and when you get to do something because you truly love it, because it truly lights you up, and not because you're feeling that pressure of providing, which I believe as women isn't something that supports our energy. Whereas for masculine energy, it's like they love providing, it's different for them. So just because we're talking about all of this, it doesn't mean you can't go and chase your dreams. It's actually quite the opposite, because when you have someone providing for you, when you have a masculine providing for you, you have the space and the freedom to chase your dreams. If you're the one providing, you are forced into a job to pay the bills and do the things that you got to do. So really think about that and understand that being in your feminine is being in your power. And when you're in your power, you can do anything that you want. And I believe that's really where the magic happens.
Thank you for saying that so perfectly. Exactly what I wanted to say. Thank you. I got so sidetracked and distracted. Thank you for saying that, because yes. Just because you're in your feminine doesn't mean that you're not allowed to work, because we both have our own businesses and we want to work, but it's different when you're coming from a place of wanting to, and because you have the space to do so, versus having to make ends meet, and because your man wants to split 50-50 with you. So I feel like we can keep going on this topic, because there's so much that we can cover. There's so many different dynamics, and I feel like we briefly covered a little bit. So I think what we can do is we'll end this episode here, but we'll ask our audience questions.
Yeah.
If they have any questions about the masculine and feminine, and then we can answer those in another episode. Because I know we're going to have a lot of women that have questions about the masculine and the feminine and how to get a man to provide and how can you be more in your feminine. And so I think maybe what we can do is ask our audience and have them submit questions, and then we'll go ahead and answer that.
Yeah.
Because we can keep going forever. Because there's so much that we can say.
I know. And thank you guys for your messages. We've been getting a lot of messages from you guys about what you're loving about the podcast, even topics you want to hear about. Please keep sending those, because we're definitely going to use those to create more content for you guys.
We have a whole list of episodes that we're going to make in the month of April. There's so many topics, so I don't even know how we're going to... Maybe we should do 2.
I know. You guys have the time to listen to 2 one-hour podcasts.
I know. We were like, we're not going to make this an hour. And when we checked how long we've been recording for, we were like, oh shit.
I know. It's just so much.
But yeah, so I don't think there's anything I want to say as of now, unless you guys have questions, and then we'll get back to this topic. But I think we should leave it here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for tuning in again.
Thank you guys so much, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode.
Yes, we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.